By 10:58 a.m. on the seventh day of Diddy's trial, the spotlight was meant to be on Cassie. A surprising event transpired. Curtis Jackson, also known as 50 Cent, entered the courtroom unannounced, unaccompanied by anybody, and unaware of the events that were about to transpire. He strode directly to the front, halted, and muttered something to the bailiff while clutching a compact black folder and donning a gray suit. As the judge verified that Curtis Jackson was prepared to testify after being sworn in, the courtroom was filled with gasps a few seconds later. 50 Cent's revelations on Kim Porter, her files, and her life of terror at Diddy's hands formed a picture that was worse than any song lyrics or headline, and the events that ensued were not only stunning, but also historic. This was not steak. It was an oath of office charge of murder. Even before anything out of the ordinary occurred, the air in the courtroom was thick with tension. On this, the seventh day of Diddy's trial, most people anticipated the usual suspects: emotional testimony from Cassie Ventura, standard cross-examinations, and maybe another angry exchange between Diddy's legal team and the prosecution. However, the subsequent events caught everyone off guard. On the dot, at precisely 10:46 a.m., the hefty oak doors situated at the back of the courtroom swung open and attention shifted. A towering, recognizable person stepped forward, donning a sharply fitted charcoal suit devoid of a tie. 50 Cent was performed by Curtis Jackson. His silence was deafening. He avoided looking at the reporters and spectators in the gallery. His determined stride reverberated through the empty room. The gallery erupted in gasps when Cassie, who had remained composed throughout the demanding testimony, visibly tensed up. Her gaze remained fixed on 50 Cent as he advanced closer the front. The judge glanced across at the bailiff, and with a single nod, the moment was approved. As he sat at the defensive table, Diddy gently turned around. He was silent at first, but soon his expression tightened. Whispering something to his attorney, he kept his gaze locked on 50. 50 Cent politely to the front of the room and asked to be sworn in as a witness. This was just for show, he declared, absence of publicity and theatrics. "I came to speak the truth," he said. Judge Harmon, who seemed both curious and wary, then inquired whether he had presented any proof to back up his claims. A manila folder with documents, screenshots, voicemails, and photographic evidence was taken from beneath his arm by 50. A simple yes was all he made his point. After giving the document a cursory glance, the judge nodded in agreement. "Go ahead and do it." Everyone in the room, including the reporters, was quickly typing away. Numerous text messages were exchanged. We made up the hashtags as we went along. Even before he stepped foot in the witness stand, the hashtag number time 50 Cent testifies started circulating. The courtroom, however, was deafeningly quiet. Now the man who was renowned for his public beefs, bluster, and trolling was different, focused, calculated, and dead serious. "Someone who trusted me has left, and I feel the truth must be shared. Therefore I came here today," he continued, "not because I want to." As 50 Cent became comfortable on the witness stand, he said, "Kim spilled the beans to me through our room." He added that in 2017, through common connections, events, and industry circles, their discussion began informally. "We respected each other, but we weren't best friends," he explained. "We discussed privately. She felt safe confiding in me since I wasn't judgmental." During those quiet times, he testified, Kim Porter revealed her fears to the court. "If something happens to me, it won't be an accident," he claimed she stated. The next shocking development was when 50 found out that Kim had given him email screenshots, text message backups, and a password-protected disk kept in an encrypted cloud folder. One voicemail in particular stuck out once she let him hear it. "Stop digging for things that don't concern you," the anonymous caller threatened, and Kim was led to think by 50 that Diddy was behind it. She knew his patterns, but she didn't have proof of that specific call, he said. She had a good grasp of his methods. Not for fame, not for money, he explained, but so her kids would one day understand what she went through. However, Kim was terrified as she wrote what she dubbed her Redemption Journal biography. 50 claims that she informed him that Diddy had been monitoring her whereabouts and that she had felt tapped on her phones. Over the course of many days, she counted the identical automobiles parked outside her residence. There was no rhyme or reason for when the security cameras in her house would malfunction. She remarked, "He's keeping tabs on me. Something tells me." According to 50, the jury leaned in as he stopped, and Cassie briefly closed her eyes as if absorbing the weight of it. "She was terrified of him," 50 told me. "She was terrified, and rightfully so." In court, he continued by saying that Kim had once shown him an Uber travel log snapshot in which she claimed Diddy's helper had unannouncedly arrived at her residence at 3:41 a.m. 50 testified, "She said he wasn't there to talk." In court, he wanted to make sure she knew who was boss, he said. If 50 had saved any of this, the prosecution wanted to know. "Indeed," he responded. The court approved the use of 3 screen captures and a voicemail with a specific date. "I am not in this for the drama," he said in his last remarks. Maybe now, in death, Kim will finally get justice. She knew she wouldn't get it in life. 50 Cent reached inside his manila folder and pulled out a printed email as the courtroom leaned more into the intensifying storm. "This one," he added, turning the page, "was gifted by Kim's former stylist." The stylist, who must remain anonymous for security reasons, had spent years in close quarters with Kim and Diddy. 50 states that the email was sent about 2 weeks before to Kim's passing. You know what it said? Drop the book. It was a warning to Kim. 50 persons testified that the jurors had been warned by someone who had witnessed too much. In addition to the warning, the most disturbing aspect of the email was a tidbit hidden 3 paragraphs down. "I purchased a golden coffin 1 month ago specifically for you." As a result, the courtroom fell into a profound silence. 50 stated, "At first glance, I took the statement to be an exaggeration. However, I came to believe it after she passed away, and I saw the casket she was laid in." He informed the judge that Kim had told him behind closed doors that she had video recordings of Diddy's notorious parties. "She possessed recordings of him, other men, and things I am not permitted to disclose in this courtroom," he stated. He said that the secret drive that stored the film had suddenly disappeared from Kim's house during the course of what the police eventually determined to have been a typical burglary. He halted and stared straight at the jurors before saying, "That film didn't disappear. It was claimed." Will Kim ever name names? The prosecution wanted to know. Clive Davis, Andre Harrell, and someone else, a billionaire. 50 of them nodded. 50 reports that Kim claimed to have videotaped every single one of them, not just talking but actively engaging as well. Kim was well aware that disclosing the tapes may jeopardize her safety, job, and perhaps her life. She did, however, assure me, "If I go down, I'm not going down quietly. If I disappear, if I die, or if anything happens to me that feels off, you know who did it. You always will." This was the terrifying quotation that Kim had sent him via encrypted email, and it served as the final, horrific remark in Part 3. 50 Cent returned to the stand and requested the judge's approval to present a file that Kim Porter had previously showed him, with the title Masters and Murders, causing the courtroom to fall into a state of relative silence. 50 painstakingly laid out Kim's theory that the assassinations of Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace, Biggie, were not acts of street feud but rather the result of strategic, behind-the-scenes decisions made by powerful figures in the music industry who viewed the two as being too vocal, too influential and too controlling of their respective musical legacies. According to him, Kim found out about this after going through a stack of voicemails, studio recordings, and transcribed conversations. The courtroom was taken aback when he revealed that "she told me that in 2018 there were plans to create icons out of deceased men, because dead guys can't sue." Rumor has it that Kim confessed in 50 that she overheard an executive meeting between Andre Harrell and another unidentified individual in the late 1990s while on a trip to New York. They supposedly spoke about how Tupac's influence may undermine East Coast industrial control in the future. She recorded notes, the kind that are handwritten, dated, and signed, in lieu of audio. 50 informed the jury she knew too much and she had too much. Because she was scared, 50 said the jury, while facing the prosecution's question about her silence. She was outnumbered, that's why. As evidence that Diddy was complicit in instigating the tension that led to the massacre, he presented written transcripts of Kim's voice recordings in which he implicated Suge Knight, Jimmy Iovine, and Andre Harrell. Upon his death, Biggie forfeited all of his assets, including his publishing and royalties. That was good for the record labels that Diddy was a part of. Peers in the gallery let out a gasp. While the others leaned forward, one juror dabbed at her eyes. After initially focusing on Kim's death, the court started to wonder if she could have knowledge that could answer one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in hip-hop history. 50 Cent's demeanor shifted after his 6th visit to the microphone. The shade was muted and thicker. Witnessing the repercussions of a woman's silence, he was doing more than simply testifying about events. What Gene Deal stated was heard, he started. People didn't find Kim in her bed. Her body was discovered on the floor of the restroom. When word got out, the official statement said she passed away quietly while sleeping. But that was not the case. He hesitated for a moment before continuing. The evening prior to her burial, I received an email from someone claiming to have been associated with the initial coroner. According to their claims, an unexpected poison was detected in the initial autopsy. They just mentioned that it was highlighted and that the complete report was sealed. They did not specify what it was. 50 was granted permission by the judge to provide a printed version of the email that had the identities redacted. One of Kim's staffers had attached a statement to it. 50 once told her, "If I die suddenly, check the cameras, check the vents." She used to tell me that. 50 people also sent in images of what seems to be the night of Kim's murder, when her home was supposedly searched and found empty. The photographs show 2 computers stolen, 1 hard drive deleted, and a letter scrawled by hand that said, "Don't forget who you are." Silence fell upon the jurors. 50 then revealed Kim's second bombshell. She had a book contract. The text had been submitted and was now in the final stages of design. That publication mysteriously disappeared the moment I looked. Attorneys were brought in. The world came to a halt, and the book disappeared. He produced a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, from a firm associated with Diddy's legal team, which threatened legal action against the publisher unless the final book did not delete any reference to Diddy. The truth vanished in an instant. 50 claimed that bringing up Diddy's fixation on obtaining full custody of the twins made the courtroom feel chillier. Again, the vibe in the courtroom shifted. Concern for the lives of Kim's children had surpassed her own fears. In an honest conversation, Kim informed me, "If he ever gets custody, I'm done for." 50 also testified. Kim, he said, was making secret plans to relocate to a new house, a new name, and private schools for the daughters in a different state. So he would have no incentive to keep me around. Like most of her pals, she kept it a secret from Diddy. But he discovered it in some way. 50 ostentatiously said that he had filed a private investigator's report verifying Diddy's flight from New York to Los Angeles 2 days prior to Kim's demise. Diddy, along with 2 aides and an unidentified legal expert, was included on the private aircraft manifest, which included time-stamped flight data. An insider close to Kim claims that Diddy unexpectedly dropped by her house the next day. According to 50, the footage from the exterior CCTV cameras that recorded his entry was later deleted. Kim went silent from that moment on, 50 stated, and then, after 2 days, she disappeared. He presented the court with an electronic replica of Kim's letter to her attorney from 2018, a few months before to her passing. The letter detailed Diddy's unstable conduct, threats of violence, and a clear warning: "I'll never leave him without consequences." At the end of this section of the testimony, 50 used Kim's terrifying last words: "If anything happens to me, don't let him raise my girls." There was total quiet in the courtroom. Even Diddy ceased penning his thoughts in his journal. His palm grew numb, and his eyes remained fixed on the ground. Even though the jury was clearly rattled after hearing all the evidence, the trial was far from done. 50 Cent had previously made some unsettling claims in court, but the subject of the missing security tape from Kim Porter's house cast a shadow over everything. 50 stood boldly before the court and jury. From the hallway to the bedrooms, and even facing her front entrance, Kim had security cameras installed not just outside but inside, he said. He said that Kim had confided in him during their final phone call that she had developed paranoia. "They are aware that I am now observing them," she added. "2 locations, the cloud and my hard drive, contain my proof. They would best not claim pneumonia if anything were to happen to me." A home tech contractor who had maintained Kim's system 2 weeks prior to her death was then presented with an affidavit by 50. According to the affidavit, everything was set up for the cameras to automatically transfer film to a protected cloud account, and they were functioning properly. But the incriminating part comes when the tech observed that an IP address associated with Diddy's media firm, Revolt Media, was used to remotely access the administrator credentials barely 48 hours after Kim's murder. That login deleted files in addition to seeing film. The Los Angeles Police Department later requested the tapes, but the company denied having any. "So you're telling me that there was a complete surveillance system in place, and the only footage that is missing is from the night of her death?" 50 inquired in court. There was a pause in his speech. "Whoever having an ulterior motive is known to you. Who had access is known to you. Plus, you now have an idea of who may have hid it." The jurors was noticeably rattled. Jury 6 gritted her teeth. Jury 11 wrote furiously. And Diddy sat quietly with his attorneys, speaking behind him. There was an overwhelming sense of implication. Even if the truth was recorded on video, someone ensured that it was erased. The tension was already high when 50 Cent released the bombshell, a message from Kim Porter to her ex-boyfriend Al B. Sure in the days leading up to her murder. 50 said that she had left him a voicemail in which she stated, "They know I'm going to talk," but he couldn't hear it at the moment. "I'm scared," he said, before bringing up a screenshot of a communication that was time-stamped only 48 hours before to Kim's body being discovered. "Sure, he keeps asking about my hard drive," Kim informed Al B. in it. "It seems like he has some plans." Everyone in the courtroom fell silent in shock. "If I vanish, it was no fault of mine." Al B. Sure went public about this in 2020 on IG Live, but no one took it seriously, 50 revealed. To prove their case, the prosecution used the screenshot as evidence. The plot took a turn that nobody saw coming. 50 stated that he got a phone call from an unidentified number 2 days following Kim's burial. "Back off, or you'll end up like her." The other party just repeated this in their automated response. The number was associated with a burner phone that had been bought with cash, but the SIM card had ping-tagged a tower close to a notorious bad boy office in New York, so the investigation was halted. A gasp escaped the courtroom. "Diddy?" 50 of them gazed. He said, "I don't scare easily, and I sure as hell don't back down when someone makes a threat." The judge then inquired as to whether he had reported the incident. Saying, "I did," 50 continued, "but that was it. However, I am now making my statement in court, before a jury. Who will attempt to silence me now?" The whole courtroom, including the jurors, journalists, and even Diddy, leaned in as 50 Cent delivered his closing remarks. 50, after taking a long breath, started slowly. "The press is not the reason I am here." While making eye contact with the jurors, he declared, "I'm not here for clout." Pacing slowly, he said, "I owe it to Kim. That's why he was here." Kim was not insane. She was being cautious. As a mother, she acted in an attempt to shield her children from harm. Curiosity was her strength. Not even Diddy's attorneys are likely to be privy to all of her knowledge about him. Then he said, "Diddy ain't just an abuser," with an undeniable snark. "He goes beyond mere control. I fear for his safety." 50 told me face to face that if anything were to happen to her, it would be him. Kim expressed her fear by saying this. He would harm her, if not ruin her. 50 supplied one last document, a signed memorandum from a former assistant at a recording business that detailed Diddy's fixation on eradicating anyone who became a problem. "Dead women don't talk," was one of his signature lines in the message. A dead silence descended across the courtroom. While 50 admitted that he was not an attorney, he did say that he was familiar with the appearance of murder in a $1 million suit. "Now that you have the proof, you need to act upon it." His attention shifted to Diddy, and he carefully strode past the rapper, staring him down. His gravelly voice betrayed his assumption that he was playing chess the whole time. "It seems I had the checkmate in my possession." Diddy remained expressionless, devoid of any emotion whatsoever. Plus, the jurors noticed it. After 50 Cent stood down, the courtroom fell into a hushed silence. He was the center of attention when he strolled by Diddy's table. The tension between them was nuclear, but Diddy didn't flinch. It was testimony given legally under oath, and is now part of the federal record. It was neither a rap feud nor a trolling incident. Despite the judge's request for a short recess, no one took action. Unable to utter a word, the reporters froze. Jurors clenched their jaws in anticipation, and the prosecution appeared as if they had recently received the last blow to the case they had been constructing during the week. Slid into the evidence folder in a low, clandestine manner was the final document, according to 50 Cent, which was Kim Porter's voicemail. In it, she said, "If they tell you I died of pneumonia, don't believe it," and was recorded at 2:03 a.m., only 1 week before her death. "Verify the servers and cameras. He finally managed to reach me, if you're listening." Even Kim's family was unaware that this recording existed. The courtroom would subsequently discover that it had been preserved on a secured server. However, 50 of them had. True to his word, he had safeguarded it. The media had already shifted into high gear outside. Around the world, people were talking about the hashed Justice for Kim Porter and hashtag Diddy Trial bombshell hashtags. Headlines that couldn't have been imagined merely a few days ago appeared on news tickers. Diddy had Kim murdered. 50 Cent's testimony. Kim Porter foresaw her own demise and preserved evidence of it. Media uprising. Diddy's impenetrable empire starts to collapse. An urgent audit was requested by the stockholders. Contracts were stopped by sponsors. Not even close friends or allies would openly admit to removing partnerships from their online properties. Not due to a scandal, but to the onslaught of facts, a titan slowly crumbled. Juries sat in startled silence upon returning to the courtroom. Now the case was about more than abuse. It was about erasure. A lady was deleted. A reality was erased. And Diddy lost control of the media machine he had purchased and controlled. All evidence presented today will proceed to the next phase of this trial, the judge made plain when he reconvened the court. This testimony will not be struck and no delays will be allowed. I think that was everything. With his chin down and shoulders down, Diddy seemed less like the business magnate who created Bad Boy and more like the guy Kim had warned everyone about. No microphone, no applause, no control, just quiet, was a first for him in his career.